Development Corporation is called to order. Madam Assistant City Secretary, do we have anyone sign up for public comment? Okay, thank you very much. Item number 4, minutes, consideration of and action on the approval of the minutes of the December 2nd, 2025 meeting. Madam Assistant City Clerk. You have anything to say about that? Yeah.
Move to approve.
Second.
We got 3 people here. Got a motion, and I'll take that as a second.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any against? Okay. Item number 5, contracts and agreements. Performance agreement with Hope Biosciences LLC, consideration of and action on the approval of a $1 million performance-based incentive with Hope Biosciences LLC. Jennifer Alexander, Business Development Manager, Verena Keloff, Senior Director, Global Life Sciences with Greater Houston Partners. Jennifer.
Good afternoon. So today we'll be talking to you all about Hope Biosciences. We're going to start the presentation off. I have a few guests with me. We are going to start by introducing Dr. Verena Keloff, the Senior Director of Global Life Sciences at Greater Houston Partnership. She's kind of going to lay the foundation, talk about the ecosystem of life sciences, and paint a picture for us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. As Jennifer indicated, my name is Verena Keloff, and I have been in this role at the Greater Houston Partnership for about 3 years now, really telling the story of Houston's life sciences ecosystem. And Houston's really special in that we really, in the life sciences and biotechnology, we span really deep research within our Texas Medical Center, within Baylor College of Medicine, MD Anderson, etc. But we also do a lot of manufacturing. We have a lot of startup companies that are spinning out from that great innovation coming out of our innovation ecosystem, out of our leading research institutions. Now, when I came to Houston in the early 2003, I joined Baylor College of Medicine as a PhD student at the time, and we were talking about 2-3 life sciences companies. Lexicon, of course, is still in our region, but there wasn't a whole lot of companies that actually stayed within Houston. Well, over those last 20 years, Houston's life sciences ecosystem has changed dramatically. We have a lot of companies here that are homegrown, companies like Millar, CTMC, Castle Biosciences, that have come out of garages across really in collaboration with some of the great innovators. They are working on therapies, they're working on medical devices. Millar in particular does implantable devices and doing all sorts of things. But we've also been attracting companies from across the globe. Lonza ended up in Houston because there was a startup company that they merged with, and they really saw the potential for Houston in the early 2000s. We have companies that grew out of our ecosystem and are continuing to grow here. And these are really the companies that are making an impact on our region, that are providing excellent jobs for individuals within our ecosystem. To date, we have about 28,000 individuals employed in life sciences within companies across the Greater Houston region, in addition to over 15,000 individuals that are working in our research institutions as researchers, developing some of the cures, some of the therapies to address the need really of humanity. Across the Greater Houston region, of course, we're all aware of a lot of the institutions that we have of higher education. We're graduating over 3,000 individuals every year with a bachelor's degree or above in biomedical sciences, pharmacy, and bioengineering, etc. So those are a lot of graduates that are available to take roles here. Now, I have to tell you, though, when I graduated in 2008, a lot of folks that graduated with PhDs in my class didn't have a job here in Houston. They went to the coast, which is also where our patents went at the time. We didn't have the ecosystem to really grow these things here. Now, a lot of that has changed over the last 20 years. Of course, we still have these fantastic educational institutions that are developing some amazing therapies, amazing medical devices, etc., that are really going to make an impact. We also have a very robust entrepreneurial ecosystem. The Texas Medical Center has taken a lead in building some of those accelerator and incubator programs to help the folks that have developed the innovation actually spin it out into companies and bringing in the talent that has done this before, which then leads to, of course, the growth of companies within our ecosystem. Now, in addition to that, we also have a lot more funding that's available. Of course, we have access to NIH funding, NSF funding, DoD funding, and a lot of that has been coming in. I mean, over the last couple of years, we've been getting close to $1 billion just from the NIH into our research institutions. But we are also really lucky in the state of Texas that we have CPRIT, the Cancer Prevention and Research Institute, that specifically funds cancer prevention and research, as well as the development of therapies across the state of Texas. They have been spending about 60% of their budget on Houston because we have the science here, we have the individuals here that are building the companies, and we have the support systems here in order to help them be successful and grow towards impactful therapies and impactful companies as well. And we also now have a lot of the real estate that's within our region, where companies who are growing from a small startup into a little bit larger company where they need larger laboratory space. We have the infrastructure. We have organizations that are providing incentives for them to stay and grow the jobs, grow the companies here in place. And of course, I'd be amiss to not mention the critical role of the Texas Medical Center overall. We are special. As a region, there is not another global region that has this group of 60 member institutions that are competing fiercely, but are sitting so close with each other, right next to each other. I mean, you go down Burton Avenue and you have Baylor College of Medicine, UT Health, Houston Methodist, MD Anderson. People don't actually believe it when they come in from the outside until they see it. And that density of knowledge, that density of patience, that density of folks who are willing to develop therapies to understand what's actually happening and cure, that is very, very uncommon. And TOC shifting their mindset from purely patient care and research about 10 years ago to start developing accelerator programs, to much more actively make sure that these innovations stay within Houston and get a chance to grow, has had an immense impact. So altogether, we've grown about 500 or so startup companies in our ecosystem over the last 10 years alone. And this is really the density that we want to keep within Houston, because this is the opportunity for jobs. This is the opportunity for economic prosperity. I can talk about this for hours, but I know that time is of the essence today, but really just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what's been happening in Houston. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. It is a huge economic impact that we're bringing in through life sciences, and some of the large manufacturers like Eli Lilly is also taking notice. We have what it takes to make sure that these companies, small ones and large ones, become successful in our region. Thank you.
I have one question. What are the kind of incentive Houston City is providing to all these companies?
You know, a lot of it is very specific to what the company is going to be doing there. And it's not so much just the city. The greater Houston region, we're covering 12 counties. And so it's very specific based on whether you are in the Woodlands, whether you're in Pearland, Sugarland, et cetera. Everybody kind of has their own approach to incentives and takes a very specific look at what a particular company needs to stay in the region to really grow here.
Thank you.
I have, Dr. Cole, kind of piggybacking on what Sanjay had said, looking at the regional areas, that's what we are. Do you see us diversifying or kind of linear in what we're trying to help create here. If we're looking at one type of science, or if we're trying to diversify, what's best in our interest? What are you seeing in the regionals areas?
So, and this is something that I think is fairly unique again to Houston. I see a lot of depth in a wide variety of life sciences subsectors, if you so want. There's a lot happening within therapeutics development, cell and gene therapy. But we're also very successful in attracting pharmaceutical manufacturing. We realm, but within oncology, we see medical devices, we see diagnostics, and we see therapies. So I think a lot of what becomes a deciding factor for each individual region to focus on is kind of some of the resources that are specific. There are some shared resources, of course, across the greater Houston region, but there are also very specific items within Sugar Land that make it more appealing to a particular area than others.
Matt, within the Houston region, Sugar Land offers an incentive to a particular company. Is that information shared with the other entities in this Houston region, in this sector, so that everybody knows what everybody else is doing? We're not competing. We've got a thing on our agenda today for a specific company. We want to make sure that other people know that we're doing this so that they don't try to steal this company away from us and happen. So are we sharing this to make sure that the right dollars get spent at the right place at the right time?
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point. Now, we at the Greater Houston Partnership, we actually bring together all the economic development organizations from across the Greater Houston region on a regular basis to have conversations around how do we elevate Houston. We go together to Bio International, Sugar Land's been an active participant, the Woodlands, Pearland, et cetera, to pitch Houston as a region. And we make sure, now, I don't know whether you guys share specifics with other groups in the economic development group. But yeah, I mean, in general, we don't compete against each other. We bring companies together in from the outside. And we would certainly very strongly discourage any one of them to say specifically, oh, we want them. We compete around it at the same time. We want to make sure companies stay in our region.
To more specifically answer your question, GHP has a wonderful newsletter that they send out. And so this would be something, an announcement that could go out there. The governor's office also does it in addition with the Texas Economic Development Corporation. So what Lou Hammond and our marketing team does is whenever we have this kind of a meeting and announcement, we will send out the press release and then that will get shared so that everyone does know Sugar Land is invested and we are dedicated to life sciences. This is a great opportunity for us to launch that marketing.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Next, I have the pleasure of introducing both Daniel Chang and Donna Chang, founders of Hope Biosciences, and Donna will be joining us to give us an overview on Hope Bio. We're not going anywhere.
Can we get that in writing?
On the record,
Actually-
I think, that's for sure.
Actually, it's.
Mayor McCutcheon, council members, city staff, it is truly an honor to be here today on behalf of Daniel, myself, and the entire Hope Biosciences team. It's a privilege, and we are so honored to be in Sugar Land. So I'm Donna. I am the CEO of Hope Bio. Hope Biosciences is a biotechnology company focused on one thing. We are to transform lives with regenerative medicine, specifically stem cell therapy. We develop autologous using your own stem cells for a variety of different indications. But we are bringing advanced biological treatments aimed at addressing chronic inflammatory and degenerative diseases where we have a lot of shortfall in our traditional medicine. So what makes us unique is that we are not just a research company, but we are, and we're not just a manufacturer.
We are a fully integrated life sciences company. Right here in Sugar Land, we conduct FDA-regulated research, manufacture our own cell therapies in our own GMP facility. We manage complex quality and regulatory systems, and we support patients and clinical partners from around the world. So this is no longer theoretical science. Stem cells have been, this voodoo thing for a long time. These are real programs operating under federal oversight with real patients, real data, and real outcomes. To date, Hope Biosciences has manufactured cells for over 50 FDA-authorized clinical research protocols, as well as 2 Department of Defense funded studies. This level of utilization reflects both scientific credibility and the trust placed in our manufacturing, quality systems, and regulatory rigor. From an economic standpoint, Hope Biosciences represents the type of company across the country that everybody wants. Our team consists of highly skilled professionals, scientists, manufacturing technicians, quality and regulatory specialists, and operational leaders. These are well-paying, knowledge-based jobs that build long-term economic resilience. As we grow, our workforce grows with us, along with our investment in specialized infrastructure, equipment, and local services. But our impact goes well beyond the payroll and the property. Because of the nature of what we do, we welcome patients and families that travel from all over the world and all across the United States to participate in one of our FDA-authorized clinical programs and stem cell banking services. And these individuals come here, they stay in our local hotels, they eat our local food, and they are actively contributing to medical tourism, which is a high value and recurring form of economic activity that benefits the broader community. Equally important is what our presence says about our beautiful city. Life science companies are highly selective about where they operate. They look for cities that value innovation, regulatory rigor, long-term partnerships, and smart economic development. By supporting companies like us, Sugar Land positions itself as a city that is forward-looking, one that understands the future economy is built not just on growth, but on innovation, talent, and impact. So we have chosen to stay here and grow here because Sugar Land offers that environment. As residents and business owners, we are proud that the city's support sends a clear signal that advanced industries are welcome, valued, and encouraged to scale responsibly within the community. So the incentive under consideration today is not just an investment in our company, it's an investment in high-skilled job creation, I'm very passionate about, sustainable long-term economic development, increased visitor and patient-driven activity, and the city's reputation as a destination for cutting-edge science and medicine. So on behalf of our employees and our patients and partners, thank you for your time, your leadership, and your thoughtful consideration. We're proud to be a part of this ecosystem. Thank you. All right. So now we will go into life sciences in Sugar Land. I'll provide you a little bit of background. In 2001, a target industry study was done that identified life science as a priority sector for employment growth and capital investment. Sugar Land has, of course, seen the organic growth due to the proximity to the Texas Medical Center and the Houston healthcare ecosystem. In 2023, we took a deep dive into that life science strategy. We worked with Newmark to identify 5 competitive subsegments for Sugar Land. And then in 2024, we restructured our incentives, and that feedback came directly from that 2023 study. It told us that we needed to refine our ROI and we needed to make a reduction to our job count. So originally we required 100 primary jobs for life sciences. We reduced that to 10 over a 1-year period and 75 for other target industries. And then the ROI, we refined it from 10% to 7 to 10%, because this is typically where those life science companies will fall. These are the 5 subsegments that we were identified in that 2020 study. Hope Biosciences falls in the therapeutics development, that's cell and gene therapy. So I know Donna just spoke about Hope, but I wanted to also give some key facts. This is a Sugar Land biotech company that develops adult stem cell therapy. They operate a good manufacturing
practice compliant facility. Essentially, this means that regulations, products, everything is controlled from start to finish due to quality standards. They are advancing multiple FDA authorized clinical trials in multiple sclerosis, lupus, traumatic brain injury. Also, they provide clinical grade stem cell banking for adults and newborns, and they hold an FDA RMAT designation in multiple sclerosis. So the FDA only grants this designation for therapies that have shown evidence that they will improve serious life-threatening conditions. And so with this designation, also FDA approval can be accelerated. Typical FDA approvals can take anywhere from 10 to 15 years. So this would accelerate that approval. This is a wonderful designation to have. Local growth. Hope Biosciences was founded in 2016, and since 2017, they have invested more than $16 million in their Sugar Land operations. This is a significant early investment for a company that has grown locally. They started with just 3 employees, and they currently have about 25 full-time employees. Right now, they're at 16700 Creek Bend, which is our Lake Point area. They were not originally the single tenant of the building. They were able to expand and take over the entire building, and now they have purchased the building. Now they are interested in doing a $2 million project focusing on facility improvements to expand the long-term manufacturing capacity. Project details. $2 million in capital investments. This would go into the building improvements and equipment. They would be wanting to create 15 new jobs over the next 5 years at an average annual salary of $61,240. These improvements would be tied to production, quality assurance, quality control, and client relations. Project scope. So their building is about 19,000 square feet. They're going to be doing renovations on 10,000 square feet of the building, again, on improvements to the building and equipment. Infrastructure improvements. They're going to be moving around some walls, creating more workspaces. Essentially, this is going to create more improvement tied to long-term manufacturing and operational improvement and efficiency. The incentive recommendation that I have for you all today is a $1 million direct incentive paid over 5 fiscal years. The project commitments, again, 15 new jobs. There would be 10 created in their first year, and then they would be staggered. They would have to retain 25 existing full-time employees and be required to make a capital investment of $2 million. We are aware this is a very aggressive incentive. This is a strategic partnership and project. This both supports retention and that life science growth here in the city of Sugar Land. This also aids in establishing Sugar Land as a life science cluster. Again, why this project matters. This directly ties back into the life science strategy that we identified in 2021. We further dove deeper in 2023. We developed the 5 subsegments. It's retaining this growing company with the RMAT status. It supports the facility improvements on this new building that they just purchased, and it sends a strong signal to Sugar Land that we are serious about becoming a life science cluster. So the recommendation that I have for you today has been reviewed by the Economic Development Committee. Staff does recommend approval, and if approved and subject to Hope Biosciences meeting all terms of the performance agreement, the first payment of 5 would be paid out $200,000 and would be issued by March of 2027. I do have a sheet for you. The project pipeline is in front of you. You will see Project Bloom, which is the project name for this, is in this spreadsheet for you. You'll see it towards the bottom. And we do have capacity for this project. Any questions?
I have a question. May I start? And this may be for Donna. So with this expansion, we already know how many employees and such. Will this expansion increase your capacity to bring in more medical tourism?
Yes, it will significantly, at least double, if not triple our outgoing products. That means doses that we're able to deliver. So that will increase the amount of people coming to be able to receive treatment.
So delivered here in Sugar Land.
Here in Sugar.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
You mentioned in your talk how you really like bringing in jobs that are going to be not only highly technical, but then highly compensated. When I look at the threshold that we have to meet at $61,000 a year, you cannot live in Sugar Land on $61,000 a year. So I wouldn't consider that highly compensated. The person making that money can't afford to live in this city. So is that the type of job you're referring to? Because I don't consider that high income. And can we expect that to be higher? A whole bunch of questions about that. But anyway, just I'll start with that. I don't consider that highly compensated. Help me understand why it is. And then just a further comment on that with respect to the agreement. This is a 5-year agreement. Any numbers that we're talking about should be indexed to inflation. And I don't see that in the agreement. So I'd like to better understanding of what's highly compensated. And I think these numbers, whatever they end up being, should be indexed to inflation.
As far as the 61,240, that is just the average. We have to understand that once they get FDA approval, those numbers will change. They can possibly go up. They're going to be hiring on more staff of all levels, scientists, various occupations would be associated to that. So that number doesn't have to be. That's the minimum that we would require that they meet.
Understand?
Yeah, and again, and adding to that, it is an average, and of course, your seasoned scientists are the ones that are gonna be your high-paying jobs, but your, and the beauty of this industry is, you have your brainiacs, but you also have your day-to-day people who come in and are doing, it's biomanufacturing, which is considered a high-tech job, but it's still manufacturing. It's putting A into B. That job function can be done by people with associate degrees, community college degrees. We're talking about entry-level opportunities for people to grow. So yes, they're not high paying, but they can grow to be. And in life sciences, just because we're life sciences, we need to have a balance of all of these jobs. And eventually we hope to be successful enough that even our entry-level employees are awarded accordingly so that they can live here too. That's what we hope for our staff.
John, do you have a follow-up on that or no?
Just further on that, do we typically tie these types of incentives to indexes to inflation? Because 61,000 today hopefully will grow over a 5-year period 10 or 15%. So shouldn't that number be indexed? This number is already low in my opinion. So shouldn't we index it at least?
Typically in our agreements, to my knowledge, we have always just put the baseline average annual that we, actually, this was part of the incentive restructure that we went through in 2024 and we lowered that. It was originally 78,000, I believe. And so we did lower it to be more competitive in the market. When we did the study, we were told we were going to see smaller companies with fewer employees, right? And to Donna's point, they would be employees that would hold various titles. And so we needed to be flexible in that aspect. And that's why the number at minimum is 61,240. That doesn't mean that it can't go up. It just can't drop below.
Just to add as well, the number 61,240 is benchmarked to the state of Texas and the county. When that changes, we would also update ours.
You can't update this agreement.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay, I'm done.
can I clarify? So you're talking about the amount of the incentive should maybe be indexed?
No,
Okay.
Threshold of the same.
Okay.
I have a
Sanjay?
couple of questions if you allow me, sir.
Sure, go ahead.
So first of all, because obviously they are investing $2 million into the city and we are paying 1 million in incentive, which could be seen as a high number because the property tax coming from additional 2 million will be negligible, 7,000 or so per year. So I would think most of the incentive we are paying is for additional job growth. Yeah, 15 at least in this case. So one of the condition also I saw was 15 job minimum. So I would think that in the unlikely scenario, the job growth doesn't happen. Let's say they stay at 25, then the incentive should be 0. Is that
So
right?
we always
But let
have,
me finish here.
Okay.
But the formula which I saw in the agreement, it is actually twisted other way around, that even if they stay at 25, they will keep more than 50% of the incentive because it is also divided by 35, which is the total employee count. So can you tell me that why should incentive not be 0 if there's no job growth?
so they would still be required to create those jobs. Should they not, that payment would be reduced based on the ratio that we do have in the agreement.
But if you put in that formula, 0 job growth, which is stay at 25, you can only recover 45% of the investment paid. So in the unlikely event that they don't grow a job, then you can only recover 45% of what you paid. So why is that? Why not that if they don't grow any job, there should be no payment?
This is the first time that we have been ever able to support a life science company, specifically Hope Biosciences. They have grown very slowly. Like I said, they started with 3 employees. It's extremely hard to incentivize a company like this right when they join, Sugar Land in the ecosystem. This is our first opportunity to do so. We do feel that they would be able to obtain that 15 new job creation on top of the 25 that they already have because of this expansion. If it wasn't for those jobs, they wouldn't need the expansion. Again, this is the first time that we're able to support them. There is that provision where it is lowered. I would have to honestly look in the contract to kind of dig into what exactly you're speaking on. But we just have never had the opportunity to support them, and we're standing on the recommendation.
Okay. So I have.
Sanjay, Rob Betcher here on the line.
Company has
So-
to provide metrics. So everything that's in the performance agreement, we send them a letter. Then they have to show proof that they spent the $2 million, that they hired the employees. What we do is then say they don't hire that extra one person in year 2. There's a formula that we would reduce the amount paid. So they wouldn't get the 200,000, they would get whatever that formula is. So every single company that we've worked with has had, some of them have had reductions, some of them have not. But we would not be paying them and then saying, hey, you need to give us 45% back. That's not, we always do the metrics before.
So my point was, if you put in that formula zero job growth, it still comes out to be 55% incentive given to them, and only 45% you can redeem. Put 0 in that formula, because the way formula is the deficiency in what is promised divided by 35. So just put in that formula. One extreme is job growth as it is 15. Another extreme is job growth is 0. And ideally, when the job growth is 0, it should be 0 incentive, or you recover 100% win.
So one thing I can attest to, like to the point about the 61,000 average salary, in my time here, every company that we've done an incentive agreement with has always far exceeded the average salary and the employment counts. It's as a business, it's very hard to predict what you're gonna have in 5 years, 3 years. Most businesses can't predict in 10 years out, which is what most of the term of our agreements are. So they budget and we negotiate more conservatively out of just to make sure that they can actually meet those goals versus not being able to and having to have those reductions or potentially the contract being terminated. So I think that's where we have to find a balance, is working with companies and helping them be able to project 3 to 5 years out as best they can.
No, I'm just highlighting that point is understood. And don't take it as advice. I'm really thankful for you being in Sugar Land and doing it. I'm also trying to protect Sugar Land City and the taxpayer money so that it is well spent.
Absolutely, and if I could just say, I used to be an economic developer as well, and so I fully understand the process and how these calculations are made. And it was funny, during the conversations we had, I asked for consideration on the amount of investment we've made thus far to Sugar Land. And of course, you can't backdate anything, but I hope that the plans that we presented today are clear indicators that we are committed to grow. We have every intention to grow. We've been waiting to hire people because we need this thing signed so we can add these jobs to our roster. We are, we're verbally committing that we're gonna stick to this, and appreciate that you're taking a leap of faith. We understand that.
I had follow-up.
Okay,
I'll ask for 2 more.
go ahead.
So second question is, in the previous time when we discussed this point, we had requested if they can give commitment for 10-year stay in the city of Sugar Land instead of 5. So 5 is of course committed right now, and we are going to make them payment in 5 yearly installment. But if we can put a commitment for longer duration for Hope Bioscience to stay in Sugar Land. So I know verbally you said you are committed. Can that be put into the contract that they commit to stay for 10 years in Sugar Land?
Jennifer, let me stop. This is already a contract that's been negotiated. We can't negotiate anymore in the middle of a meeting like this. It's already negotiated.
So I'm just
We're either gonna up or down. We can't negotiate.
Okay, so my point is, I will just give my opinion. I believe 5 years is too less, and for us to give 50% of the amount which is being spent for the expansion will be too high instead of getting a longer term commitment. That was my second point,
Okay,
and I have a third point if you allow.
all right, go ahead.
Yeah. Could you tell us the ROI on this particular project?
The ROI on this particular project is 0.9%.
1% of.
It does not fall in the ratio that we have aligned when we restructured our incentive program, but this is also a retention project. This isn't a recruitment project, and so it's very different. We would like to retain Hope Biosciences here in the Sugar Land ecosystem, and this is essentially going to spearhead our life science strategy moving forward. So again, we feel like this is a very strategic project. It is not so much about the ROI, but more so about retaining this company that is about to get FDA approval.
Thank you.
Rob's been waiting, sorry.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? So couple points. One of them was what Sanjay was mentioning, but when I ran the numbers,
Rob, we can't hear you, let's fix this.
you guys can't hear me?
Rick, you've been waiting and we'll fix Rob's microphone.
Okay, yeah, just a quick question.
Okay.
I've heard really good things about your company, and I think a good friend of mine worked for you, Jan Schultes.
She still does.
She's still there? Great. Can you give me an idea what your annual revenue has been the last 3 years, and has it grown?
We had 7 million this year.
How much?
7 million.
7 million?
Yes.
Has that been consistent?
No. We've been growing, our growth rates has been about, compound 40%.
Okay.
Last year was the first year we've been profitable. But in terms of revenue, we've grown about 40%.
Okay, Rob, let's try Rob now, see if we can hear him. Oh, we're still working on it?
Hey, I'm here. Can you guys hear anything?
Yeah, just yell a little bit, okay?
Maybe you can.
How about now?
A little better, go ahead.
All right. So covering a couple of the points that Sanjay had mentioned, when I ran the numbers, if no jobs were added, the number was about 337,000 would be the penalty. So I'm in agreement with Sanjay that, we probably need a 3x multiplier in there. If no jobs were added, I would expect a 0 outcome, right? In terms of the contract, I know, Councilman Stewart was mentioning it's already been written. This meeting is for the funding, and the funding can always be conditional on certain conditions. So that's when we can consider.
On a change of the contract. We're either voting on the yes on the contract or no on the contract. The contract's already written. We either fund it or we don't.
Okay.
Questions, Rob?
Well, there's significant weaknesses in what I can see. The job count was one of them. I know what Councilman Vonderhaar mentioned. The salary count was a little bit low. One question I did have is what was the expected job growth in terms of the high paying, let's say, whether it's doctors or tech versus the technicians and everything else? Do we have a count of what that may be with the additional 15 jobs of what the breakdown is?
The breakdown of the jobs per year.
The breakdown of the jobs, if I heard correctly, in year 1, we would be hiring 10. Year 2, it would be 2 jobs and then 1, 1, 1 so up to 5 years. But we'd be starting with the 10, which is what we require in our incentive structure.
Right. And those were mostly like technician jobs, or were those doctor level research jobs?
It would be a spread.
I mean, do we know how many of each?
It's hard to predict in year 1 what that breakdown will be. It will likely be more than 10, but mostly manufacturing technicians just to grow our capacity at first, and then we can build into R&D. So are the higher paying jobs maybe after the technician jobs is my guess.
Okay, because the one, I guess where this question is going is a lot of the economic development incentives and strategy is to bring in life science companies to Sugar Land. And obviously this may be a roadmap of companies, let's say 2 and 3 in the future. So just trying to understand what that growth cycle looks like and what types of jobs we're bringing into Sugar Land. So that was the main focus on that one. We talked about the salary. We talked about if the jobs aren't added, what penalty that has. To me, it looks like we're paying out about $660,000 roughly if no jobs were added. So obviously that's a concerning point. But, I'm definitely appreciative of the expansion that Hope Biosciences is doing. We hope that they commit to all the terms of the contract. I guess just from my standpoint, it would be nice if we just had a little bit more protections in there for the taxpayers. But other than that, thank you for what you're doing.
Then you have a question?
Jennifer, Councilmember Sanjay, alluded to ROIs as just financial. There are many types of ROI that we need to address here that I think we're missing. Could you hit on some of the other types of ROI that we're talking about that are really critical and substantial when we look at these types of businesses coming to Sugar Land?
Sure. So in February, you will be receiving information on our life science strategy moving forward. And Apple will be touching on that come February. But essentially, grounding a company like Hope Biosciences here, the long-term benefit, again, we will grow that high-wage workforce, which wouldn't just come from Hope. Hopefully, we begin to attract other biotech firms to the area. We have a little bit of land left in the city, and we're trying to utilize that to our highest and best use. We went through our studies in 2021 and 23, and it told us that life sciences was a key priority industry for us. And so we're trying to focus on that. And we believe this project, again, it's not about the ROI. This is a strategic project to be a catalyst for that overall life science strategy.
Yes.
What's the negative on this? If we look the other way and we don't look at approving companies like this, we're looking at those type of ROIs, what if we don't move forward?
So as we kind of touched on earlier, these incentives, all of our agendas, all of this is all public record. Hope Biosciences did purchase their building here, but they have no obligation to stay. They can leave. This is a company that's very sought after. It's a very reputable company. So they could very well leave the city. So that is why I'm trying to emphasize that this is also a retention project, along with.
What's the bigger message to the economy that we're looking at?
We want to continue to diversify our economy, and with Hope Biosciences, we do just that. Again, it's those high-paying jobs, bringing in those visitors that she mentioned. They provide services all over the world. I think in all 50 states. And so seeing that economic impact come back into our city, if we lost Hope, all of those things would be affected.
Can I just add one more thing? And Jennifer, that was a great answer, but there's a lot of brand and marketing dollars that is the qualitative ROI on this project. So on the screen, you see our slogan for our 3-year marketing campaign, Ready for Something Sweeter. We've done a lot of work towards the life science industry and those specific segments that you saw since 2021 to adopt them, to redo our incentive programs towards them, to be ready to support our life science companies. This is the first one that we're able to incentivize and support. And so this does set the stage for the Houston region, for us nationally, on the West and the East Coast, on is Sugar Land ready to support life science companies?
I'd like to make a motion to approve, please.
We have a motion,
Second.
second by Vanderhaar. Any further comments?
I would like to make it.
Yes, please.
It's a comment, not a question. So, first of all, means don't understand that we don't appreciate. Actually, personally, and whole council is very appreciative of you being in City of Sugar Land. I think my comment earlier and what I would say is we need to be just mindful of the city dollar which we spend. And one of the flip side could be that it creates a kind of expectation for 50% incentive for the future companies. If somebody is putting in 10 million, they may want to get 50% of that as an incentive back, which based on our financial, we can possibly not afford. I would have possibly supported this if there was a longer stay provision, which of course we can't change now, or if there was a full clawback if there are no job creation. But because of in the absence of those, I am kind of hesitant to support. But that's my comment.
Thank you.
And you all have already invested $16 million into our city, and this is going to increase worldwide medical tourism. And I mean, this is going to serve as a very important catalyst for our life science cluster. So I think this is very important. And each agreement stands on its own. Just because we're doing this incentive for them, I mean, each one is very, very custom. That doesn't require us to do that for anyone else. So I think, again, this is sending a very important message that Sugar Land is serious about establishing this life science cluster here in the city.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any against? single, Rob, I didn't hear. Are you aye or nay?
What was that, Stuart?
Are you aye or nay?
Oh, you guys are voting already?
Yes, we're voting.
Um,
Yes or no? Are you voting yes or no?
no at this time.
Okay, so we have two against, single and Betcha. Motion passes. Thank you all very much for your time. Item number 6, workshop, office readiness program. Review of and discussion on the proposed office readiness program. Jennifer Alexander, Business Development Manager, Jordan Cutler, Senior Marketing Manager.
Office readiness, presentation highlights, we'll be going over the Sugar Land Office Market. We will be discussing the office readiness program that we are proposing today. Jordan Cutler will touch on our marketing plan, and then we will discuss next steps and clarifying questions. A little on the Sugar Land Office Market, tenant drivers and shifts that we have seen in the market. Obviously, COVID-19 pandemic shut things down and accelerated the remote work quickly. So that drove vacancy rates higher. And I don't think we've ever truly come back from that decrease. Hybrid work, again, it remains permanent. So we see tenants wanting smaller footprints, flexible seating, and there are less people in the office during the week. We are also seeing flight to quality. So tenants are wanting and gravitating towards that Class A office space. They want the flexible layouts, luxury essentially is what they want in their office buildings, and they want the new. Office types that we're going to be talking about today is Class A and Class B. If you ask any broker, we don't have any Class A office space here in the city of Sugar Land. The Class A office space is new or recently renovated. It's typically the luxury, the grab and go. You're going to see on-site dining or walkable environments where you can get the dining nearby. Class B, these are older buildings, but still functional. Some of the might be updated, but still possibly dated. These are typically still in good corridors. The good thing about Class B is it can be repositioned to that Class A product, which is something that we need to do. Office market snapshot. Just a small comparison between ourselves, the Woodlands, and Houston Metro. We have here, excuse me, the square footage, vacancy rates, and whether we have true Class A or not. Right here, you will see 15% vacancy rate for Sugar Land. On some platforms, you might still see that at 25%. That is still including Lake Point. So once that levels out, you'll see that closer to that 15%. But all in all, Sugar Land's office inventory is near Class A. We lack the modern finishes, amenities to really be that true class trophy environment that the flight to quality is looking for. So again, the key takeaways here, in October, we hosted an office roundtable. We invited local brokers, developers to come out, have a conversation with us. We talked about the market. We got firsthand feedback on the challenges that they were experiencing, things that we had noticed. We have also lost significant office tenants over the last several years. They have gone to the Galleria, West Chase, the Energy Corridor, and these are the reasons why. Again, the tenants want that prioritized modern amenities. They want the walkable, they want the new, the shiny. And the competitive markets that we are surrounded by, they offer those things. Again, we do not have that Class A experience. Sugar Land's office buildings are falling behind because they're aging. So what's next for us? We are constantly revisiting our incentives, and we believe that a program designed to elevate building quality is what's next to respond to what the office market is dictating, and we want to continue to remain competitive. So the office readiness program. This program supports the refresh of office buildings through tenant improvements and infrastructure upgrades. They'd be tied directly to job creation and capital investment. We would have two pathways that we're proposing, the property owner path and the tenant path. A key objective for this program is to transition out the office users that might be in our industrial land and our flex spaces. We want to get them out, put them into that professional, traditional office space so we can get a higher return on our property tax investment, property tax in our industrial spaces. So again, we're always revisiting our incentives, and this is what we believe that the market is needing. Program goals. Again, modernize the office inventory that we have here to remain competitive and boost occupancy. We want to encourage those office users to come out of that industrial flex space and relocate into those true professional office corridors. And what this does for us is it frees up the limited industrial land left that we have in our business park. We don't have much. So to be able to pull some companies out of there and into our true office space, that would be great. Just for a little tidbit, the average price per square foot for industrial land is like $10 to $12. And so comparing to $30, it's a lot cheaper, which is why we have some office users in our business park. Area focus. So we took the land use map and we focused on two key priority areas for us that we have seen office spaces with the most vacancy. So in the maroon, this is our Sugar Creek Triangle, as we call it. It's located in a regional activity center. In a regional activity center, it's supposed to be an office hub, high visibility. We want to support walking and walkability and create that urban environment. For the Regional Commercial Services Center, it's at the bottom in red. This is where the Sugar Creek on the Lake building sits. This is our oldest office building. It was built in 1982. I will provide a graphic in just a bit that kind of shows you the square footage and all the vacancies. But essentially, this is also a key property that aligns with the land use plan that we can transform this area into a more mixed use, vibrant area. We want to see the walkability. We want to see the outdoor spaces. And we believe these areas are our key priority focus areas. These are the 8 office buildings that we have identified in those areas. As you'll see, the oldest is built in 1982, the newest in 2009. The vacancy rates are high. A few of the office buildings, you'll see an asterisk. These indicate that within the last 10 years, some type of renovation has been done. It could be a small refresh, some higher end finishes. But again, we are still at that near Class A. We do not have any true Class A here in Sugar Land. I would say the closest building we do have is Imperial Plaza. So for office infill, this is one of the key priorities for this program. We again be pulling that traditional office user out of our business park, out of our industrial land, and pushing them into that traditional professional office space. We worked with data and innovation to curate a list of businesses. We started with about 300. We've refined that to about 66 businesses. These businesses are in office condos, are also in flex space. And so we need to, next steps would be to research these companies specifically, look at the ownership, check to see when these leases are coming up for expiration, and see if we can follow up with some of the brokers from the round table, get these people mixed together, and can we get them into our office building? So there's going to be some more research that goes into this. We're going to continue to refine this list. Jordan will touch a little bit on the marketing plan and our targets later on, but essentially this is the list that we're going to continue to refine. So we have 2 eligibility pathways, property owner and tenant. The minimum capital investment that we would be requiring for the property owner is $2 million, reimbursement of 50% of eligible improvements. We would require a baseline occupancy and associated jobs that were reported at the time of the application that would have to remain. And of course, there would be compliance with these agreements. We would need the property owner to provide us with tenant lists, job counts, and square footages. They have to try and secure a minimum of 5-year terms on those leases. As we heard in the roundtable and from feedback, people are wanting flexible terms. And so you're not necessarily seeing those 10-year agreements anymore. So 5 years is the minimum here. We also want to make sure that the tenants that are coming in are in our target industries. The tenant path, minimum capital investment requirement is $750,000. Reimbursement of 50% of eligible improvements. So life sciences, we would either need to create or retain the 10 jobs. For other industries, we are pushing 50 jobs. So for our direct incentive, we have that noted at 75, but for this, again, we're seeing people wanting smaller floor plates, and so we're trying to be flexible in the market. Also, the 5-year lease term, and again, they would need to operate in our targeted industries. So I brought the chart back just to remind you guys that we are near Class A. We do not have Class A here. But just to touch on the cost realities and where we got these numbers from, it takes about $75 to $100 per square foot to modernize these office spaces. And so when you take 10,000 square foot floor plate, which typically can sit 50 people, which is our requirement, you're going to spend anywhere from $750,000 to $1 million in those build out costs. And so that's where that rationale came from. And then to fully reposition a building, you're gonna routinely exceed $2 million. And again, you know, we had these conversations with brokers and developers, and so this is for firsthand feedback and also research that we have done. So why these matter? $750,000 for the tenant path. This ensures that the incentive is supporting substantial tenant improvements. Also, the tenant's gonna have to put some skin in the game. Remember, this is 50% of eligible improvements. $2 million, again, this is to target the comprehensive building upgrades to try to get the assets up to that Class A experience. These thresholds align with what the market is indicating. These are not for cosmetic improvements. We're not gonna cover the paint and the carpet. We are gonna cover true infrastructure, whether that be lobbies, common areas, moving walls, things like that. The incentive framework. The reimbursement again is 50% of eligible improvements. Agreement terms can be anywhere from 5 to 10 years. Of course, there are safeguards in our compliance agreements and all agreements should the requirements not be met on jobs or capital investment. We do understand that 50% is large, but we do feel like this is the right amount to support substantial upgrades to projects and kind of filter out those low impact projects. Once you get the assets up to where they should be, up to par with being amenitized and what the market is asking for, hopefully we can start filling those vacancies. Now I'll pass it over to Jordan for the marketing plan.
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Jordan Cutler. I'm our senior marketing manager. So as Jen mentioned, here are the primary goals for the program. We have created a brand around this. Of course, this program will need marketing and communication support to really uplift the messaging. So some of the goals are similar to what Jen mentioned, helping modernize Sugar Land office building, relocating office users from industrial flex spaces into true office corridors, preserving the industrial land for advanced manufacturing, which is where it should be. And then, of course, everything that we're doing, we brought to you guys our campaigns a couple of meetings ago. And so everything that we're doing from now on is tying into our overall campaign. So reinforcing that ready for something sweeter messaging and letting our audiences know that we're ready for people-focused growth. We're making smart decisions about how we're positioning Sugar Land for what's next. And so this is the branding for that. Again, the key message for that we'll use across all of the communications and marketing that we'll do is we're modernizing, we're activating office spaces to support long-term economic growth. With every campaign, as with every campaign, it's really important for us to identify our target audiences. And so we've identified some of those here: businesses, property owners, brokers, developers. Of course, everything that we're doing is also speaking to the community and letting them know why we're doing this and how it's positioning Sugar Land for economic growth. And then the tone of this program is optimistic, very collaborative, of help us help you. We're working together to shape Sugar Land for what's next. And of course, strategic, because all of our programs are that. We always take an integrated approach with marketing, which means that we're covering a bunch of different bases. And so here you'll see the different areas that we have. Public relations will work with Lou Hammond Group to work on embargoed stories, which are essentially just stories that are presented by outlets ahead of time, so that we can have, whenever decisions are made and programs are approved, the story be released with the messaging that we want and the messaging that we've helped craft. The goal for this program would also to have Jennifer as the project lead and also our leadership featured on podcasts and discussions to talk about this program and really integrate the work that we're doing in this program into the overall narrative of offices in general and what's happening in the industry. Digital, we obviously have our website that we just redid, and so we'll make sure that this incentive is listed on the website and update the website to incorporate that. We'll have search engine optimization. It's essentially the keywords that you're using as you're Googling and using Bing. And so we'll incorporate office keywords into our SEO plan. We have a newsletter that we publish every month, so that will be incorporated into the newsletter that we do. We also will do a targeted solo e-blast. Jennifer mentioned really creating a list of people that we want to be specific about targeting. There's technically kind of two different audiences here. This the general audience of us communicating, why this program is important, but then also the people who this program applies to. And so that solo e-blast will be very targeted. We'll work with that list that they're developing to make sure that information gets out to them. On a more general marketing and general collateral based front, we'll have one-pagers, which are essentially just documents that we can arm Jennifer and the team with as they go out and meet with the different stakeholders to talk about this program, making sure that they have easy information to digest about this program and how it supports them. And then our team is also working on developing really creative office readiness toolboxes, which essentially will be branded toolkits that have information about you know, the program and cool swag and merch that we can kind of tie into the program to give them information, but also get them excited about this program and how it's shaping. On the right, you'll see a timeline. So essentially, starting from December on until March, we'll continue to work the messaging, work with our communications team and Lou Hammond Group to develop the press releases and begin outreach to do potential embargoed stories, which again are stories that we work with journalists on that are not public until this is approved. We'll work on the toolbox, and then from February on, we'll start to, pending approval, of course, publish the websites, release the embargoed stories, launch video and social posts to talk about that messaging. And then we'll continue to tailor our approach as we move forward and as we refine those lists. And thank you.
Would you take a speed talking class?
But I know you're short on time.
Thank you very much.
That's big.
I can take longer if you.
No.
So why this program matters, I'm actually not sure if I mentioned it before, so I'll mention it now. This program, we are constantly looking at our incentives, and so we will be repealing the headquarter retention incentive program. We feel like that is no longer necessary. It's not what the market demand. This is a program with the market demand, so we would be repealing that and replacing it with this targeted performance-based approach program. Again, we're going to be responding to that flight to quality trend by incentivizing reinvestment that improves the competitiveness of our product here in Sugar Land. And we are reinvesting local sales tax dollars, which I think is extremely important, back into the community to modernize our office, reduce the vacancies, and support long-term economic vitality. So the Office Readiness Program has been reviewed by the Economic Development Committee. We are workshopping it here today, and then we would be bringing this back in February 3rd for approval. Do you have any questions?
I have one quick question, please. This program is not by right. In other words, if a particular tenant or office building owner comes to us with the required basics, we don't have to offer them the incentives. We do this on a case-by-case basis, true?
So we will be analyzing each project on a case-by-case basis. We also we're not scoring these, so it's not like we have a scoring committee that like one project might be more prioritized over the other. We're really not even sure what we're gonna get. So we will be looking at every office building and every application that comes in. Yes, we won't be just off the bat denying things. We will look at every application.
Can I clarify just something, Stuart?
Yeah,
I think I understood. So I think what Stuart was asking, and if not, I'll ask it. Just because we have this program doesn't mean somebody automatically gets it. We're gonna look at each on its own merits, and if it doesn't, even though it may meet these criteria, it may not be the right thing for us, and we can still say no.
We are not held to have to incentivize them, to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
It is our choice. It's all case by case, but it also has to fall in our area of focus. Elizabeth?
If a company or a project meets these parameters, we do have to bring it to the EDC to our process for consideration. You as the board and the EDC can choose not to vote for it and not support it, just like with the fund grant and other opportunities. But if they meet the requirements, we are obligated to bring it to you.
Ray, you had a question?
Thank you. You showed a slide that listed all the buildings, office buildings in our area. We know who owns those buildings, right?
So we do have a database where we have access to property ownership, yes.
And so, okay, so there's your point of contact, right, for this program?
Yes,
Okay, I guess that's my main question. We know who these people are. And we know what their vacancy rate is. So we're gonna do something about that.
right. We might not have the direct specific contact to the ownership, but we do have databases where we are able to gather further information. And yes, we will be able to contact them. We have conversations with brokers as well that broker these buildings.
Carol, did you have a question? No? Sanjay?
Yeah, so my question is in line with what he said, because it's a good program and I think it's worth going in that direction. My only suggestion would be to look at that 50% number again. And if it's possible to reduce it, because there may be a case that 4 or 5 buildings come and they all meet the criteria. It will be very difficult for us to award it to some and not to us. Legally, yes, council can vote, but unless there is a differentiating factor, we can't do that. And we can possibly not afford more than $1 million or $2 million from our budget, which is here. So try to see if you can do less than 50%. come in the range of 25 to 30%.
So we don't have, this is a pilot program, right? We've never put this out there before. And so we have this number, this is a trial. We're putting this out there. We're gonna see what kind of projects we get. We're gonna see how the market responds. And we can always come back and further refine all of the criteria here in front of the board.
So we can change if required. If too many applications come, we can change from 50 to 30 or something.
It is a pilot, so we can continue to refine it as we see fit. Alba, do you have?
So it really can be in the language. We can say a maximum of 50%, and then that gives us a range. The pilot agreement for this incentive program or this vision was the incentive agreement we did at Sugarland Town Square, where we did do 50% or up to 50%. In the past, when we've already approached some of these owners, that's what it's taken to pencil out a project. But we can add language that says a maximum of.
Maybe
So
keep
we're
that,
able to
just to
get
keep
that.
an option.
Yes.
Thank you.
Suzanne?
I'm not about to tell you how to bring this to fruition or do your job. But you said something very interesting that we didn't talk about EDC, which was you're trying to get people out of the industry, the industrial park, into some of these vacant buildings. And if I were in that industrial park, I don't care about class A or class B. I care about the difference between $10 and $30. Do we have any component that makes sense to move people out based on a financial incentive, solely financial, that has nothing to do with improvements or otherwise? So if I got the space over here because it's cheaper, you can easily get me into Sugar Creek on the Lake just by helping me subsidize my rent. Is there that component in there to move those people out? Because that's all it would take for me to move.
So this really is that component. We also have to remember that landlords typically, not always, will offer a tenant allowance to a business that's coming into their space, which is basically an allowance that they provide to the tenant for build out costs. So that hopefully plus this program can make a difference. We understand that this may not work. This is actually a tough ask, but we have to try something.
I just want to make sure that that's the mentality and thinking of getting the people out of there. Because it makes so much sense when you said that to get them out so we can grow our industrial park. But and I've been there, and that's why I own my own commercial building now, because it just makes sense to get people out based on dollars a month. So good job.
Well, and like to add on to that, a lot of these buildings have been foreclosed on and purchased and repurchased. And so they're at a different threshold, like financially, which is a good thing. And then being able to help subsidize them putting in improvements, that means that they don't have to increase the rent to the same level that they would if they were to try to entice the tenants and have to pay for all these capital improvements. So this is our ability for them to focus on the physical aspect of their building, but also make it the rent affordable and comparable, hopefully, for business. And it may not be 10 years, it might just be 3 to 5. We'll have to see, but it's an attempt to try to help subsidize.
And all those things make so much sense for people who don't really care about Class A. They just need to be in a place that makes financial sense. So
I do want to add, bringing back the attention to Nexus Waters Group. They were in our business park and their want was Class A walkability and environment, and we were able to move them to Sugarland Town Square. So out of the 66 businesses that are on the target list, will we get all of them? Probably not, right? But like Jennifer said, we do have to try. But there are a lot of these businesses that their workforce is driving the need for these amenities. And in order to retain that workforce, they're going to do what it takes.
they're
So we're
individual.
hoping to-
They're an individual basis. That's what's important.
Correct. So it's, there's always going to be a balance.
Do we still have?
Yes, comment question.
And then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, all right. Kudos for doing this. I really appreciate you guys continue to look at what you're doing and fixing what isn't working. So thank you guys for doing that. I also am excited as hell that you've chosen Sugar Creek Triangle as one of your starting points, because that is the gateway to the city of Sugarland, and it looks like crap. And it has for many, many years.
And I've been a tenant there for 25 years. Okay.
It's also your district, isn't it?
Motion to adjourn.
But anyway,
One.
tell me where
We're
that.
adjourned.
We're adjourned.
All right. You guys can still hear me.